All right, Manish, thanks for that. I think we've got ASHWIN Parekh as well on the phone line with us. ASHWIN, for the layman, just take us through how this works when, it's quite rare for us to see big bank mergers happening, and that too voluntary ones that are not, at least one partner is not distressed in it. What happens from here on? A shareholder nod and then it goes to the RBI. What is the, procedurally, how does the merger work out from here?
Well, you see, I mean, this is a voluntary merger. So, what will happen now is that, let's say the bank, I mean, that is both the banks, with their respective sort of board's approval, will go to the regulator and file a scheme of the merger. And at the same time, they'll start the process under the Companies Act as well. The effective date of merger will play a certain role. I mean, they'll determine the date from which the two entities will merge. And from that time onwards, once the courts approve and once the regulator, before the courts approve, the regulator will, of course, have to approve. But in the normal course, we've realized that in case of private sector voluntary mergers, where, the deposit holder and public interest is properly protected, the regulator doesn't have much of a say in this regard. Then, of course, the integration process begins between the two banks thereafter.
In your experience, ASHWIN, how long should this process take from, in a minimum time frame? When should we try to see the consolidation or the merged entity come into being when it comes to Kotak ING?
See, in the past, we have seen, that after the merger was announced, and the regulatory processes begins, in normal course, the two entities do together. In the past, for example, HDFC required, the name of the bank which is going to.
All right, I think we seem to be having some trouble. Most people traveling back from work at this point, we're trying to catch and get a bit of sense. But as ASHWIN was just telling us, there is going to be a regulatory process that is underway. But as it is a voluntary merger, a lot of the work would have already been done by the private banks. They would have seen the books, they would have seen how the merger is going to work out. They'll have everything ready for the regulator to give a go-ahead. And we'll obviously, Mr. Kotak himself with their Kotak, they're tweeting as well and putting out lines that it's complementary in nature. ASHWIN, I just want to understand one thing in terms of as the books begin to merge. We also have the anvil of a new regime coming in terms of the liquidity coverage ratio on one side from the RBI, the Basel III. Do you think that all of this would have already been factored in, but largely that also plays a large part in pricing, because a lot of people now will say that the pricing has worked in Kotak's favor. Do you see that as well?
Well, I wouldn't say, it's difficult to judge whether the pricing will work in one's favor or the other. In the past, the acquiring banks have also paid a certain amount of price for the branch network, which is quite outside of the portfolio or the size of the book. I would say too difficult really to judge that. But at the same time, I'm very confident, when the talks were on, if particularly after doing the due diligence on each other's books, both the entities would have at least looked at the challenges ahead in terms of further capital, Basel III requirements, promoters, equity dilution, everything else. They would have certainly examined, I'm sure.
All right, ASHWIN, thanks for that. ASHWIN Parekh, they're giving us a quick insight on what this means and the regulatory approvals that will be required. I want to make a quick point.